Good afternoon. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning that applies to property, permission to extend or alter lawful non-conforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid, in-person, and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx, an online digital platform. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. Those who want to participate virtually and have registered in advance will be connecting with their computer, tablet, smartphone, or telephone and have the option of participating via video or audio only. All virtual participants will automatically be muted on entry. When your item is called, you will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. We ask that you also mute your devices until you are called on to speak. Those participating by video appearance will temporarily be upgraded to panelist when your item is being held. During the time, your camera will be enabled. You will only be visible during your 5-minute allotted speaking time, and at all other times, your video will be disabled and you will be reinstated as an attendee. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. Those participating through WebEx are not allowed to use share screen and any other panelist controls during video appearance. The host will remove you from the panelist role if you fail to respect that instruction. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. Please ensure that you include your name, address, and email address because the Committee of Adjustment and the Toronto Local Appeal Body will be sending notifications and appeal updates by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal Committee of Adjustment decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies as those terms are defined in the Planning Act are permitted to appeal decisions of the Committee of Adjustment. Appeal instructions are set out at the bottom of the decision of the committee. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. When an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired. When a committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes to address the committee. I will comment when you are reaching your 5 minutes. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept materials at the hearing. When addressing the committee, please clearly state your name and address. Please remember to confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. The applicant or agent will proceed first and make a presentation to the committee on the application. Please note that the committee may not entertain revisions to the proposal at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice of the application are informed of the changes. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Generally, we call in speakers in the hearing room and then those participating on WebEx. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have finished their presentation, and when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent has the opportunity to rebut only those comments that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion. The application will then be taken into committee for a decision. All right. Before we commence, I should ask, are there any declarations of interest of panel or staff for the items in the afternoon slot? Okay, and to our Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any items that need to be closed or any other
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no items to be closed, and there were no requests from applicants for deferrals this afternoon.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. So we have no deferral request and no files to close. Let's move to our first item of the afternoon. Okay. Our first item, number 13, 91 Glen Long Avenue. This is an application to construct a new detached garage in the rear yard of the subject property. This item was previously deferred on July 27th of 2023. We've got a number of variances before us, including driveway width, rear yard landscaping, vehicular entrance width, floor area for an ancillary building, and lot coverage for an ancillary building. On file, we have material from the applicant as well as a memo from transportation. Do we have the agent or applicant with us?
Yes.
Okay. I should ask, are there any modifications that you would like to make to the application before we get started?
The application, when I submitted the drawings to zoning, there is a reduction in height which is also introduced. It's also been revised on the variances. However, I did reach out to the planner on this file, and there's of course something which they don't like, and that's the size of the structure. At which I had they haven't gotten the revised plans to show the height, and they didn't have any information on how the current design with its height is shown with the actual house, existing house. So there's some kind of a little bit of information that I'd have to fill him in on, and that's where he requested a deferral regarding this. The only thing I can tell you is that the existing house is a you can say a war house, or like a 1952 house, which is probably, there's one other house like this, and it's very small. So I mean, even a two-car garage will almost be just as big as this house. So that's all I can really refer to with regards to any changes. There was a reduction, but it was a reduction in height from the previous application or for this accessory structure.
Okay, very good. Seeing as that there are some modifications, I should ask, you are able to request a deferral today in order to continue discussions with community planning. I do note that they do have a recommendation for deferral or otherwise refusal noted in their report. So my question to you, sir, is would you like to ask for a deferral in order to continue discussions with planning, or would you like to proceed with the application today?
Well, I really like to proceed, but then again, I don't know what the committee what concerns committee have. So I want to work with the planning if the committee sees it fit to do so. And it's only because I'm really restricted to the existing house. So anything could be, it depends on what I have to reduce, because if I have to reduce in such a way that I can't get a three-car garage, then, anyways, again, I want to, if I can, get the opinion of the committee on this.
Well,
Not that I want to go against planning.
I'm going to be careful. It's not it's sort of not our position to weigh on a application. In order to give feedback, if you would like to proceed, we are happy to proceed with the application. I should ask my members if the agent or applicant does wish to proceed, whether or not they would require a presentation. It looks like they would. While I cannot speak for other members, I can say that based off of the staff report, I do have some concerns with the application. And this is an application I think that may benefit from further discussion, although it is, I don't want to speak too prematurely because, we haven't heard from you on the merits of the application. So I will ask whether or not you would like to request a deferral or you'd like to proceed with a presentation.
On the basis of what I'm hearing and the discussion with the planning, I'd request a deferral in order to come up to at least a conversation with planning to at least reduce the structure and come up to at least having planning department accept the application.
Okay, very good. Let's take this matter into committee. Yes, Mr. Nipfel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move deferral to allow the applicant the opportunity to continue discussions with the planning department and resolve the planning department's concerns.
Okay. And do I have a second? Second by Mr. Vizzelli. All in favor? Okay, that is unanimous. So the application is deferred, sir, and we look forward to seeing you once you've had a chance to have some further discussions with our planning department.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, item number 14 is 1763 and 1765 Avenue Road. This is an application to construct an additional 4-story building with 2 residential units at the rear of an existing building currently used as a parking area and a 3rd story over the existing building. This application was deferred on June 6th of this year to allow the applicant more time to discuss with city planning. On file, we have some variances, including the number of parking spaces and rear yard setback. On file, I have material from the applicant, a letter from representatives of 416 to 426 St. Germain Avenue, a memo from transportation, and an email from community planning. We have the applicant with us in person today. Sir, if you don't mind, just turn on your mic. There's a button just below. There we go.
Yes, I'm the applicant. I'm the owner of this property.
Okay. Going to ask for a brief presentation. Yeah, actually, before we get into a presentation, transportation is requesting deferral. They are asking for a parking study or alternatively to add 2 spaces. So perhaps before we get into some planning rationale, perhaps you can speak to the deferral request?
Beg your pardon for the, you talk about for the 2 visitor parking?
Correct, or alternatively, they're asking for a parking study.
Parking study. Oh,
Yeah, staff have put the letter from transportation up.
Okay.
Have you had a chance to see this?
Well, no. This is the first time. I just saved the file from the city. They say they say they recommend to approve with a condition of suggested the 2 parking requirement. No, I didn't see this.
Yeah. Okay. So, staff, could we just scroll up just to the first page of the report? And when was this report stated? August 22nd.
22nd?
Sir, I'd like to give you an opportunity just to take a look at this file. I don't want to put you on the spot, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand this item down. I want you to take a look at that report, and then I'm going to ask whether or not you'd like to put a request for deferral or you would like to proceed based on the report of the recommendations of
Okay.
transportation services, okay?
Okay, because last time deferral, you asked me to talk to the city planner. I have a very good conversation and changed all my plan, and for the new design, the
Right.
planner have no concern for the moment.
Right, but this
didn't
isn't
know this
planning.
one.
This
Okay.
is transportation,
I know this is transportation.
different department.
Okay.
So let's stand this item down.
Okay.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
There is also an email dated August 21st from the Council for the Congregation of the Most Holy Redeemer, which may also need the applicant's attention.
Right. Let's pull up that letter. Are you, Mr. Kaboo, are you referring to the letter from Miller Thompson? Yes. Okay. Sir, have you seen this letter? Dated August 21st, 2024?
From the transportation department?
No, this is a letter from
From my,
representatives
neighbor,
of
right?
your
From-
neighbors.
Yeah, I saw this. Yeah.
Okay, so you're aware of that.
Yeah, aware of that. They're just concerned about the construction. I believe I can well manage that.
Okay, very good. I just want to make sure you're up to date.
Yeah. This one I saw it.
Yeah, of course. Mr. Bartolo, please.
Hey, good afternoon, sir. Just want to ask you a couple questions about this application, which I think might streamline our conversations and just get to the bottom of it, because it seems to revolve just around parking and setbacks right now. So the restaurant is existing, right? It's
Yes.
operating today.
Yes.
And you're adding only residential units as part of, you're adding apartments, right?
That's correct.
So no more commercial space,
No.
just residential space?
No.
Okay. And the balance of the building is not being changed, you're just putting the addition at the back, which is triggering the rear yard setback requirement?
Of course, yes.
Okay. And the parking spots shown on your plan are the parking spots that exist today, and you're gonna have the same number of parking spots if you build this in the future, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Because,
thank you.
May I just the okay, for the visitor parking, just say this, my property right in front of the because it's a avenue road, right in front of the property, there are plenty of the green pea parking in front of the street there. I just wondering, because what's your position about the visitor parkings? Because there's very small studio units. There's no for the last 4 years I never see any visitors come here. I don't say it. My question is, that's absolutely necessary for the 2 visitor parking, or just your position? Your
Yeah.
suggestion?
Unfortunately, won't be able to comment on that until we've heard the application and we go into committee. I might ask then whether or not my colleagues have any specific questions or concerns with respect to the parking.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you so much.
Yes, Mr. Frizzelli.
I think I was in for this application last time, and when the deferral was requested, it was to work with the city staff, and we also mentioned about the transportation services. There was no request. There was no request for a deferral last time from the transportation services. However, the transportation services they advised, they said to submit acceptable supporting documentation to justify the proposal with 0 residential visitor parking spaces. They still did not receive such supporting document this time. This was brought up last time, and still this time there are no supporting documents. So basically we are pointing to this, which is now transportation services requesting for a deferral because they did not receive those supporting documents yet.
Okay.
And that is what we want to just know if you would like to have the deferral in this matter, that it gives you opportunity. If not, we could go proceed with the application. It's your decision.
Okay. Well, last time, because deferral, I got a very clear message, just planning department. I didn't know, about this, transportation things. But for now, I like to go ahead, just to continue for I'll say what's your decision about the two visitor parkings.
Okay.
Yeah, but the planning setback, that issue, I have a couple times talked with the planner, and they're pretty satisfied with what I doing right now. They have no concern at the moment. And they sent me email yesterday. They say there are no concern for the new application. So the whole things I just apply for two variants. One is for the rear setback. The second for the hopefully, I just say the zero visitor parking.
Right. Yes, I don't disagree. You have spoken with community planning, but we're talking about transportation services. It's a separate department, separate staff, and they're looking at a different set of criteria that are related to transportation. Let's proceed with the application. Perhaps is a starting place. I am familiar with the application because I did sit on committee last time you were here.
Yes.
Perhaps you can just take us through some of the changes that were made to address the concerns out of community planning.
Okay. Yeah. So for the transportation, they asking for two visitor parkings. I just wondering, is that absolutely necessary for this case?
I will answer that, but I've just,
Okay.
perhaps my colleague, Mr. Nipfel.
I think there may be a misunderstanding. The transportation is asking you to justify why you feel you don't need to provide those two parking spaces or provide the parking spaces. The answer might very well be the argument you wanted to present to us is just you need to present it to transportation and they have to accept it.
Oh, okay.
So what they're not asking you to change your proposal automatically. They're saying, if this is what you want to do, we need some justification from you on why the parking is decreased. So they need a study that clarifies why you're proposing to reduce the parking. And your proposal might be quite reasonable and might be acceptable to them. So I think there's a misunderstanding. Nobody's arguing you have to provide the two spaces.
Okay.
Saying if you don't, you need to justify why.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps.
Yeah, okay. So for that case, okay, I can ask deferral to talk to the transportation body again to find what they can do next time.
I should note too.
That's a
if you have some planning rationale or justification for that, you can present that as well to us, and we can make that determination as well.
Okay, what's
it's not
what's the scenario will be if a determination will be you have to or no? What is that a?
Well, ultimately, it's your choice whether or not you would present.
I just trying to imagine what will be end up, So because
you can make an argument right now, sir, to us on why this is good and proper and why it should be approved. That is okay. You can make a presentation.
Okay, so
right
for
now.
my point is I'm owner for this property since 2020. It's a pretty small unit, and the most for those no income families here. They just working. Even the restaurant. There's on both sides of Avenue Road. There are a ton of visitor parking. Green Pea right in front of my property. There are 3 parking spaces right in front there. So that's what I think. For last 5 years, any visitor, even restaurant visitors, always use the front. They never use the back. But anyway, their back is not enough because it's existing only their 4 parking spaces. So this existing, I only add on top of it. So I think for this situation, the 2 visitor parking will be easily absorbed by the Green Pea on the street. But anyway, for my property, there's no way I put another 2 parking space there. There's no space for that. So that's my argument. But really, if I need I don't know where to go, because I'm designer, I design the whole things, I don't know where to find experts to get the really report, traffic report, hire somebody to do really study or the whole street, is enough parking or not enough parking. I can do that. I can hire some transportation expert to really study the whole street. But I don't think it's necessary for this little attachment at the back of the building.
Sure. Did you note there was a green pea lot?
There are a lot of green pea park on the Avenue Road. Even my friend is a licensed architect. He showed me there a couple years ago. The city did the study on Avenue Road for the parking issues. There are a lot of the space there. Even you can see there are a lot of empty green pea spaces just adjacent to my property. There are two big spots. City's green pea spot parking space there, plus all on the street. There are a ton of the visitor parking green pea there. So my point is, for me, I have no space for the two parking space. But for my visitors, the restaurant or the tenants, they have no problem with this. Anybody come here, they put in the green pea or in front of the street, the parking space, they have no problem with this for the last 5 years. But I mean, I just confused. I mean, really, I can hire somebody to do the whole street, the parking study, say it's enough or not enough. But for my daily life there, I can see a lot of green pea empty space along the street.
Okay. And
that's my argument. Yeah.
May I ask?
I didn't know I have to do, because I didn't see this last time. I only talked to, for the last 2 months, I only talked to the planner. I didn't really focus on the transportation, the issues. So
okay.
That's my fault.
No,
I can do
fair
that
enough.
again. I can do that again. For the transportation issues if it's necessary.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm going to ask if there's any further questions with respect to the parking. Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add? I just want to be clear.
Well, last thing I can add about this, right now I have four parking space. Even the 4 parking space, I only restaurant use 1 parking. The another 3 parking is empty. Nobody, like to, the tenants, they're just low income families. They don't want to spend the money to rent the parking space. Even 4 existing parking space, they're minimal, the 2 or 3 empty there. So that's my additional comments on the parking issues. But I know for the code, they need based on the whatever calculation, right? So they need the visitor parking. So okay, that's the last thing I can add for my rear existing 4 parking spaces.
Okay, no, and that's very reasonable.
So that's my argument. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
It's up to you guys to make a decision. It's okay, I can continue, or I have to do really need to do the visitor parking. If you really need to add another 2 visitor parking, I have to use mechanical parking, so the 2 layers, because at the back, 5.5 meter, I can buy some, staggered parking, the 2 levels, that kind of machine parking, add the 2 parking there. But I don't think it's necessary to do that.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's take this matter into committee.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Bartolo.
Yeah, I just have a few comments before I'm good to make a motion on this. Listen, I've listened to the arguments of the owner here. He's worked out a lot of the issues with the planning department, and I think we satisfied that. I have no issues with the setback. We're talking a handful of residential units on a street that is well supplied with visitor parking and well supplied with public transit. Like, if there's anywhere we want an additional rental apartments and a little bit of gentle density, it's on Avenue Road in this location. So I think he's doing exactly what the City of Toronto wants him to do.
Yeah.
And if we want these little increases in density for purpose-built rental, I think we have to be a little bit flexible with it.
Yeah.
So pending any comments from my colleagues, I'm ready for a motion.
Any other comments? Okay, please go for it.
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. Like I said, I think it's reasonable. I don't think we need a parking study for 2 spots on a well-supplied, very well-known area. I'm very familiar with it. Therefore, I'll put forward a motion to approve this application as is.
Okay. We have a second by Mr. Nitfeld. All in favor? Okay, that is unanimous. Your application is approved, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. All right, item number 15, 35 Ridge Hill Road. The purpose of the application is a proposal to widen the driveway and front yard landscaping. This is an application that was deferred on March 21st of this year in order to meet with transportation services. Variances are for driveway width and front yard landscaping area. On file, I have material from the applicant, a memo from transportation, an email from Metrolinx, as well as form letters of support. Do we have the applicant with us?
Afternoon, I'm Drew Laszlo, agent for the owner. My address is 193 Rowe Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Laszlo. I'm going to ask for a brief presentation from you.
Of course. So we're just asking for 2 variances today, really just associated with the proposed driveway. We'd like to have a double wide driveway. We have a single garage. So as a result of just having the single wide garage, we're only permitted a single wide driveway, but we would like to have a double wide driveway. And as a result of that, we need a variance for the driveway width. And then we are deficient by just about 1% as far as the front yard landscaping is concerned as a result of having this proposed double wide driveway. So we just need a bit of landscaping. Thank you.
Okay, so is it the intention that with the added driveway width, you will apply for a parking pad within that driveway, or it'll just be utilized as a outdoor parking space? Is that the intention?
Well, so we've been going back and forth with transportation, and they are in support in general as long as we deal with these conditions that they put on the report that I believe you have on file there. And yeah, one of them is to actually apply for a front yard parking pad. As an aside, you know, I've been fortunate enough to have been approved for the very similar variances along the street and along other streets within, you know, a block. We've never had to actually apply for a front yard parking pad as a result of asking for a double wide driveway. But if it is required at this point in order to get transportation on site, we will do so. But it's never been requested before, ever.
Okay, and maybe just a few comments with respect to the report from community planning. Not this time around, but there was a previous report from community planning recommending refusal. Perhaps you can just say a few words to that, and if there was any modifications made to address their comments.
Well, they really wanted us to defer, and there was, I'm not sure if that's the one, but there was another notice, another transportation notice that said, you know what, we at this point we're just asking for a deferral to give the applicant time to work it out with us. So that's why we did defer last time.
Okay.
I'm not sure. There were 2 notices having to do with at the previous hearing from transportation.
Right. Okay. Any questions?
There, sorry for interrupting. There it is. Right. Yes, that's right under the conclusion there. Recommends deferral. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, no problem. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Fazeli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question for the applicant. Are you okay with the what it is mentioned on the transportation services, the comments that they have? There are no objections, but are you okay with the conditions?
I would obviously prefer to have no conditions because in in the past with all similar applications, whenever we've requested or we've gone to committee with similar applications for a double wide driveway, for a single wide garage, we've never had any conditions associated with any approval that's been obtained. So if you're asking me, do I have any kind of issues or objections to these conditions, I don't believe I have much of a choice.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
That's the honest answer. I'm not
I'm-
thrilled with them, but
Yes, Mr. Nipville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you have the conclusions before you from transportation? Because they're really not onerous. I would argue they're fairly standard conditions. You have to contact Toronto Hydro, you contact Transportation Services about permits, you have to add some notation to the site plan, and that's all that there is.
well, if I may add that this is for the previous hearing. Transportation introduced some other conditions for the present hearing today.
I am reading the present hearing. This is the latest one.
Okay,
Maybe we could get it up on the screen.
yeah, please put it up there. That might just be
Very
my mistake.
standard
There's
stuff.
3.
Yeah, that's it there. See, if you read those are
Yeah,
very
I'm sorry. My mistake. Those are the what to me is not standard is really asking for a front yard parking pad, which again we have never had to do before. It's never been requested of us, and that would be number 2. And number 3, to move the catch basin away from the proposed driveway, which again, we find that one to be, not so standard, because when we, if I may just add, when we originally went in for permit for this, we had a single wide driveway, really located in the same location as what's being proposed today. And that was accepted. That was an as of right driveway that was accepted. And we were not requested by anybody to move the catch basin. Now, just because we've widened the top part of the driveway, we are being asked to move the catch basin located on the street. Even though the driveway we have on the original building permit drawings, the single wide driveway, we were never asked to move the catch basin. So that one kind of came out from left field for us. Catch basins are always located directly in front of curb cuts.
Does that answer your?
Well, I still think they're fairly standard conditions. I don't see anything unusual about these at all.
Yeah, I just one more follow-up question. So it's not the intention then to apply for a parking pad then? And I ask, sorry to interrupt. I just to finish that thought, I ask because in the transportation services note that if the variances are approved, they're not sufficient to grant legal front yard parking. So then I put the question to you then, if we were to approve a variance to widen the driveway, what is the purpose of having the wider driveway?
To allow some extra parking and just some extra play space for the children. But yes, there will be sufficient room for an additional car.
But it's not the intention to apply for a parking pad.
I believe that if the committee approves this, and if it is made conditional on the transportation report, we won't have a choice but to do so.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. Mr. Lazo, anything else you'd like to add before we take this into committee?
Just as far as the variances themselves, they're pretty standard. And this double wide driveway scenario for the street is that there are within one block east or west of our property, there are at least 30 examples of other houses that have single car garages, and they have been widened to facilitate 2 cars. So it's a pretty standard for the area.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's take this into committee. Yes. Mr. Nipfel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. I don't have any difficulty with the application, but I also don't have any difficulty with the Transportation Department requirements, which I think are very standard. The applicant wants to park on the space that he's creating, and transportation is, with all due diligence, given advice on how to proceed with that. Don't think that we're in any position to decide whether a catch basin should or should not be moved, other than to look at our technical experts who are recommending that the site plan be revised relative to the catch basin. So my feeling is that the application could be approved, should be approved, but with this transportation conditions that we have before us.
Sure. I just jump in. I'm struggling with this one because, you know, if the purpose is to widen a driveway, I mean, the intent of a driveway is to provide access to a garage of some sort. We've got a single car garage, and in this case, the purpose is, as far as I understand, of widening the driveway is to create an additional outdoor parking space, which transportation has explicitly stated is not permitted, even if the variance is approved. So what we would essentially be authorizing is a variance that could very likely result in a misuse of that space. If cars are not allowed to park there, then I ask, you know, what is the purpose of a widened driveway? Frankly, I don't take the submission that the widened driveway is used as a play area. I think that the intent of that is to create an additional parking space, which, as I noted, transportation said is not permitted. So I have a bit of concern with that. I also look at the kind of prevailing pattern on the street, and I think while there are driveways that are certainly wider, the predominant pattern on the street is a single driveway leading to a single garage. So I'm not convinced on that front, but we've got some other members. So I'll leave it there.
Could I respond very quickly?
Of course, please.
I agree with you completely. If there was no parking being proposed, it should be a single driveway. I agree with that completely. I guess I'm reading condition number 2 differently. Notwithstanding what's in the report, I understand condition number 2 to be that they would be prepared to give front yard parking approval, but they need to be contacted, and there has to be an application made for that. So I think they're open to that, but this is the process you have to go through to get it.
Okay. Fair enough. It looks like my colleague, Mr. Vizzelli, agrees with you there. So.
Yes, absolutely. Through you, Mr. I think I agree with my colleague.
Okay.
The transportation, they have no objections. However, the conditions that they are there is going to solve, it is the path for the applicants to go through, and things will be sorted out through that path.
Very good.
So I think, yes, if my colleague wants to make a motion.
I did already. Didn't I already?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to move approval of the application subject to the transportation condition.
Great. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, I second that.
Mr. Vizzelli, all in favor? Okay, opposed, Mr. Allison. The motion carries. The application is approved with condition. Okay, item number 16, 2737 Bayview Avenue. The purpose of the application is to permit a private school with one variance that has been identified in the scope. On file, I have material from the applicant as well as a staff report from community planning. Do we have the agent or applicant with us?
Yes, I'm here.
I'm going to ask my colleagues whether or not they require a presentation. It looks like we don't. We do have a quick question from Mr. Vizzelli for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I just want to know if the applicant is okay with the condition that is shared by the staff report.
Yes, we acknowledge the condition and we're okay with it.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Sir, if there's no other comment, we're ready to head into committee for a decision.
Mr. Chair, sorry, can we just get the agent's address, please?
Yes, thank you. Sir, can we please get your address?
So my address is 3575 14th Avenue, Unit 18, Markham.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, are there any further comments from the applicant?
No.
Okay, let's take this matter into committee.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm ready to make a motion if there are no comments from our colleagues. I believe the staff report is very clear on explanation of the comments about this application. So I'm satisfied with this application. I think it meets the four tests. Therefore, I forward the motion to approve this application with the condition, subject to condition of the staff report.
Okay, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Kaboo. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. The motion carries and the application is approved.
Thank you.
Application or item number 17, 539 Coldstream Avenue. The purpose of the application is to construct a 3-story single-family detached dwelling. We've got a number of variances, including building length, building depth, lot coverage, main wall height, building height, number of stories, setback for a front canopy, setback for a rear canopy, number of platforms off a rear main wall, front platform area, as well as 2 variances for rear platform areas and platform encroachment into a front yard setback. On file, we have material from the applicant, form letters of support, as well as a staff report from community planning requesting some modifications. Do we have the agent with us?
I'm Jim Pfeffer from 95 St. Clair Avenue West.
Thank you, Mr. Pfeffer. Should ask, do we have any modifications today?
Yeah, so we did work with community planning and we're happy to accept those changes that community planning recommended, which was changing the main wall height, that's variance number 4, from 9.88 meters to 9.1 meters. So we've reduced that by almost 0.8 of a meter. And also to modify variance number 11 for the proposed maximum rear story platform from 23.82 square meters to 21.5 square meters. So those were the changes requested by community planning. Community planning also recommended a couple of conditions. One condition basically saying that was putting a particular limit on the height above ground. And a second condition basically saying that we should be in substantial accordance with the front elevation. So we're very happy to accept that. And also in correspondence with the committee, it's the intent of the client has hired a civil engineer in any case, but we've said that if the committee wants to, can apply a condition that, quote, and this is in my correspondence on the second page, the owner will retain a professional engineer licensed to practice in the province of Ontario as their grading consultant to prepare a site grading plan, undertake field review, and issue a lot grading certificate to the satisfaction of Toronto buildings.
Okay. I am going to ask for.
There it is.
I'm going to ask for a brief presentation, and I will just I will ask. be careful. I want to be careful not to get into technical related matters. In this case, I do have a question just concerning where the water that is collected is intended to go. Just given the extent of the rear yard and side yards, where's the intent that this water is going to be disposed of?
Well, if you take a look at the very last page of my presentation, just to answer your question, basically there's a couple of things. So the very last page. So there is a civil engineer, and he said that he will take measures to reduce the runoff from this lot or the impact on neighboring properties to improve the existing situation for up to and including a 100-year storm event. And that would include storage measures sort of above grade and storage. Oh, actually, make that page 12. Sorry about that. Or, if necessary, the use of a cistern to retain water. On the left-hand side of page 12, wait a minute, is that actually one more page up? Yeah, right there. So on the left-hand side, you can see that's a green roof system. That green roof system has a storage capacity of 93 liters per square meter of lawn. And you can see we've actually got a fair amount of open green space lawn in the lot. And a green roof system like this, an engineered system, actually has a lot of water storage capacity. But the civil engineer, of course, is going to do a study. And if he finds that using a system like this and other sort of methods isn't adequate, that he would store rainwater in a cistern and release it over time in a way that meets the city's wet water management guidelines.
Okay.
And this is something, the planning is definitely aware of the fact that the building is this long, and that's why, of course, they specified that condition about limiting the height of the building above the ground. So I think these things can be done, sort of well, or they can be done poorly. And I think in this case, we've got the resources and commitment to do it properly, and we can actually, wind up making this lot a lot better than lots wouldn't need similar variances would be.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful to answer my question. I'll ask my colleagues if they have any questions. Okay. It doesn't appear we have any further questions. I would like to provide you the opportunity to, if there's anything else you'd like to present to the committee, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, if you want to just go to the first page, I'm happy to be presenting this house to you today, which we think is actually a pretty typical house for the neighborhood, which has a lot of 3-story houses. We have support not just from planning, but from all 3 neighbors immediately across the street, the neighbor to each side, and all 3 neighbors immediately to the rear of this property. So the owner has done a lot of outreach to the neighborhood, and all of the immediate neighbors are in support of this proposal and well aware of what's being built. The one thing I guess that's not typical is its kind of modern presentation. That leads to the main wall height variance, but you can see we've articulated the massing of this building so that 3rd floor is set back from the other sort of articulation of the house in a way that you would find in, say, a pitched roof building. The massing kind of steps back at that upper level. The very small height variance we're looking for is something that is right central in the roof, a small pop-up, and can't be seen from this or any other angle. And then I think the modern presentation also creates some of those variances for the small side yard canopy projections. You can see there's some articulation here. In this case, it needs a variance because it's not an eave. If it's an eave, it wouldn't need a variance. So all of these things, I think, are very much in keeping with the overall massing and scale of houses that you'd see in the neighborhood. If you go to the next page, you can see our house in plan view with the two neighboring houses next to it. You can see we're very much in keeping with the front setback, the rear setback, the overall patterns of open space in the neighborhood. There's a blue dashed line for an as-of-right footprint. You can see we're not very different from that, and I'll get into that later. And you can see this is the immediate context. If you go to the next page, you can see that that's true in the broader context of the block. You know, our front yard setback, our rear yard setback, our overall length of the building is kind of in keeping with what you find on this block. On the next page, we did a study where you can see an as-of-right massing that's in pink, 17 meters long, pitched roof, whatnot, your allowable single-story extension. There's the massing that we're proposing on the left. And we overlaid the two. And on the next page, you can see there's very, very little, you know, sort of, we're not sticking out at the back where it's kind of important beyond that as-of-right footprint and massing very much at all. You can see that small roof pop-up, which we're getting a very small height variance for. You can see the rear second-story platform. That's basically a living space off the second floor, which is the primary living floor of this house. And as well as it's an outdoor dining space, but it's also a sukkah, which is an outdoor dining space specifically for the Jewish festival of Sukkot. So it's a very important element for our client. And then if you go to the very next page, you'll see some photos of the rear yard, which you wouldn't have been able to see in a site visit. You can see that long line of screening at the back of the property and some screening to the sides as well. And then you have basically 3 pages of neighborhood context in which you can see, you know, that pattern here on this block, 2 living stories above a garage. Of course, you used to be able to assess the garage, you can't anymore, but you can see the scale of these buildings, many of them 3 stories, some 4 actually, you know, not very dissimilar at all to what we're proposing massing wise. And I think there's one more page of context photos, but yeah, like you can see that central Glen Grove one there, you know, not dissimilar at all to what we're proposing. So happy to take any further questions.
I have a question just in relation to the variance for the building depth. You know, well, I understand with respect to this basement and this area above it, it's being treated as soft landscaping. How does that system support the growth of trees? Or can it?
It could support the growth of trees. I think if you wanted to have a large growing native shade tree, you'd have to build something above it or sort of cut into it a little bit. But then there's other sorts of trees that have kind of shallower root systems, cedars and things. So it's not probably well suited for large growing native shade trees, but of course there's no forestry concerns, I guess, about what we've proposed here.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, you know, in terms of that question as well, I just say from a policy perspective, of course, forestry likes large growing native shade trees, but in terms of what's considered canopy in the city of Toronto, I think you might have heard Toronto has a 40% sort of canopy goal. Shrubs are actually considered part of the canopy from a policy perspective. So, and of course can provide a lot of great habitat as well as trees.
Okay, very good. No further questions at this time? Okay. Thank you very much. Let's take this matter into committee now. Yes, Mr. Nitfeld.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I share the chairman's concern or reservations about the ability of the site to handle water properly. So the suggested condition about hiring the appropriate engineer, I think, is welcome. The other thing that I don't think happened, and in addition, you can't grow big trees. The larger issue that I'm aware of is that in Toronto, there's a huge concern that we don't have enough porous surface to allow water to just run down and be absorbed within the soil.
Yep.
And in this case, that isn't an option anyway because there's a concrete pad underneath it. So I think at the very least, the condition about the hiring the engineer would have to be included as a condition. I also agree with the changes that were proposed by planning, but I just wanted to register my personal concern about the lack of porosity on the site.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I haven't seen anything like this. I'm a fan of these iceberg basements, but to an extent. I'm a little concerned of the fact that this really pushes it. The fact that between whether it's the basement itself or the access to the basement in the side yards, there is nothing left of the lot. And while I don't like to get into technical matters, I understand those are addressed at a later stage. I have concern at the fact that there really is almost no place left on the property to dispose of water, and I also take some concern at the fact that with the test of desirability, if this is something that's desirable and we were to see this, employed over many lots, then I question what would happen to our tree canopy. I need to see something at least at the rear, something just to at least say this is, we can support some growth here where we don't have a concrete basement underneath it. So I don't know. Other comments? Motion?
My kind of general comments on it, I think, are I share some of your concerns. On a one-off basis on the block, it's not going to be a big deal. If the entire block did this, you'd likely have some issues, is the reality of it.
Yeah.
Right? There's certainly some technical considerations that need to be done. I'm hopeful that the building department and city engineering will address that at that stage. From a purely planning point of view, I don't have an issue with what's being proposed. But like if this was replicated at scale, like en masse across the city, we would probably have to see some policy come in to address it.
Oh, big time.
But as it is, it doesn't exist, right? So I mean, on that basis, I don't think I have a reason to refuse it, but I do echo the concern that there has to be something to address this in the future, and whether that's that doesn't necessarily apply to this because this doesn't exist today, but it's in a little bit of a gray zone, to be honest.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm thinking about, like, I've heard about the comments of colleagues, all of you that shared. I share the same concern. At the same time, what I'm hearing in terms of the mass. I mean, I wish if I known if such building depth and the length similar to this application is within that immediate neighborhood, the iceberg the same way, because when we are looking at this, we are looking at if there is the adverse impact. Is it acceptable or is it unacceptable? So if it is out of the 10, 9 of them, like you mentioned, right? There are 9 of them, like there are similar situation is happening. Someone comes and say, well, there's one is added there. Is it going to be acceptable or unacceptable? But so I think this would help us to make a decision of like thinking of it is adverse impact. Yes, there's a concern on this, but is it unacceptable?
I agree. There's a concern, but it's a largely technical concern, and it can be resolved through technical means. There are ways to solve stormwater. There are ways to increase infiltration, stuff like those. Those are technical means that are available to them through construction. And they do have an obligation to control their own water that falls onto their own site. I think that'll be addressed through building. So I mean, on that basis, I don't think we have much of a leg to stand on from that point of view, to be honest. I think it's worth putting out there to the general public and to the staff to start considering these things, but I don't think, I wouldn't refuse this application on that basis.
Great.
We are in a committee, but I was thinking if we could ask if such things exist, like similar to this.
I
Did-
have
did
never
the
seen- I
applicant-
mean, we get a lot of iceberg basements, but they're on
But
typically
within-
like very large lots, and there usually is some buffer zone. Usually they're, an underground passage leading through, a rear yard up to a pool cabana or something, but there's typically some generous setbacks on those lots. In this case, it's like, almost like, you've got to shore the property line on all three sides and just down like a condo, and then build up from it.
It's not that different than a parking garage, to be honest.
No,
That's
but
a technical concern.
I share, I don't want to, dwell too much on, matters of technical matters concerning drainage. I also have to address the fact that there is a whole biodiversity aspect to this, including forestry. If this is where I kind of fall short on the test of desirability, and a little bit on the purpose and intent. I'm not sure this really was the purpose intent of the bylaw to kind of permit these sort of conditions, but it's, to your point too, Mr. Bartolo, is a bit of a gray area, because I am supportive of density, particularly that density which is below grade, and from a visual
invisible
standpoint,
density, right?
it's an right. You don't. What
and
can't
there's
bother
no
you.
rule
You
that
don't know
says
is there.
You have to plant a 100-foot oak tree on your property. You
That-
can sod the whole thing if you want.
That's true. That is true. Do we have a motion? Somebody be willing to bring?
I can put forward a motion there,
Okay.
Mr. Chair. So,
Of course.
listen, based on everything we've discussed here today, obviously there's some concerns with it, but on balance, I'm inclined to agree with the planning report. Therefore, I will put forward a motion to approve this application subject to the following conditions. That the applicant follow the recommendations outlined in the August 22, 2024 staff report, and note the language within that staff report that the proposed dwelling located above the established grade be developed with a maximum building length of 21.76 meters and a building depth of 23.16 meters, and that variance number 5 be developed substantially in accordance with the front side elevation drawing submitted to the Committee of Adjustment, attached as Amendment 1 to this report. And then in addressing some of these other considerations and speaking to the applicant, make it subject to the applicant hiring a professional engineer licensed to practice in the province of Ontario to produce a report satisfactory to the City of Toronto regarding the infiltration of water and the control of water on site.
Mr. Chair, through you, is that still the condition that's recommended by the applicant?
I missed.
You asked if the condition was a recommendation of the applicant.
It was, yes.
Well, I'm not, yeah, I mean, it's not,
So just all conditions need to be cleared by the building department before permits are issued. Just want to make sure that it's in your hands whether you want to put that condition in.
yeah, I don't know that
You know
it's.
what? Okay.
I was going to say, I don't know that it's particularly necessary. It seems like
it's not necessary. I think it's advisable. I'll amend my own motion to take that out and just put forward a motion to approve it in accordance with the recommendations in the staff report.
Yeah.
And we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the regulatory process should capture that when they apply for permit. should there be any issues with respect to drainage. I know it is covered in the Ontario Building Code. Okay, we've got a motion. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Okay, second by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay.
Chairman, excuse me,
yes.
would it be helpful, and could we include in the minutes that the committee expressed some reservations relative to drainage and grading? Because to the point that was made earlier, sure, it's here, it's on one site, but if this actually happened all the way down the street, there's major problems, and I think somebody reading this decision needs to know that this isn't the template for future development. And I think it might be helpful, and Secretary Treasurer may have a different view, I welcome his view, but to put some comment in that we had this very fulsome discussion about drainage and grading, and we had some reservations about it. Would that be helpful?
Through you, Mr. Chair, in general, the committee doesn't comment much on grading, as there is no expertise on the grading on the panel for that regard. Before all building permits are issued, a grading review is done by building permits, if that is helpful to know.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a seconder. All in favor? Okay, Mr. Allison opposed. The application is approved as amended.
Thank you very
with
much.
condition. All right. Sure. Let's take five, okay? Yeah? We got 3 more left. All right. No, I love those. I think those iceberg, they're so interesting. Because it lets people have, like, go ahead and build your, whatever. But, you're not affecting anybody on the ground level, at least from a visual standpoint. All right, we're back. We're on number 18, 60 Melrose Avenue. The purpose of the application is to construct a new detached dwelling. Two variances before us for FSI and building height. On file, I have material from the applicant, form letters of support, and a letter of concern from 58 Melrose. We have the applicant or agent with us. Yep. Is our agent here? Mr. Shakiri? Mr. Shakiri, are you with us? Staff, do we have him online? He's there, yeah, he's unmuted. Hello. Yes, thank you. Let's stand down this item. We're going to move on to number 19, 9 Waxwing Place. The purpose of the application is a proposal to increase the existing ground floor, add a second floor on the existing basement. The existing basement and foundation wall are to remain. There are a number of variances, including east side yard setback, pedestrian entrance height, lot coverage, number of stories, side exterior main wall height, and encroachment into a stable top of bank. On file, we have materials from the applicant, a report from community planning, a report from the TRCA, Metrolinx letter, and 2 letters of support. Do we have the agent or applicant with us? Mr. Wang?
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Z Wan.
Your
Hi,
address?
my name is Z Wan from 80 Fulton Way, Richmond Hill, Ontario.
Okay. We do have, and I believe we do have another speaker. Staff, can we confirm we have the other speaker? Okay. Mr. Wang, just to confirm, the additional speaker, they are not with you today?
No. Or maybe the client, maybe she's in the different address or.
Okay, very good, very good. Okay, I'm going to ask for a brief presentation from you.
Okay.
And before I do that,
afternoon.
I just want to confirm, are there any modifications that you have today?
Yes, I do. Per city planning staff, I do receive 2 variance modifications, and we are happy to accept.
Okay.
First one is to, yeah.
Just to confirm, those modifications are in line with the recommendations in the staff report from community planning?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're okay with those. That's variance number 3 for the lot coverage to reduce that from 32 to 30%. And variance number 5 for the height of the side exterior main walls, it's a reduction from 8.55 meters to 8.1 meters. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I believe there's also some advisory comments in that report. Are you familiar with them? Are there any issues with those advisory comments?
We are happy to accept those 3 recommendations from Environmental Planning Department.
Okay, very good. All right, let's get the clock up. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and the North York Committee of Adjustment. I am the architect on behalf of the owner at number 9 WAXWING Place. We are requesting the Committee of Adjustment to authorize a minor variance to permit the owner to construct additional spaces and stories to the existing basement foundation wall. This existing backsplit single detached house was built in 1980s. Within the current 1,200 square feet ground floor and partially finished basement, it is tight for the whole family to live in, especially the owner's parents are getting older that they will decide to stay with them next year. For those situations just mentioned above, the owner decided to demolish the existing ground floor and add the 2 stories floor on top of the existing basement foundation wall. The new proposed exterior walls above will sit on the existing wall, the basement wall, and partially supported by only 2 columns at the 2 corners facing the rear yard. Please note there is no excavation for the exterior foundation wall. This property is also TRCA controlled area. We did spend about a year communicating with the geotech engineer and civil engineer to address all the TRCA requirements. And we do receive the no objection letter from TRCA. The city planning staff also reached me regarding the 2 variance modifications. First one is to reduce the lot coverage from 32% to 30%. The second one is to reduce the site exterior main wall from 8.55 meters to 8.1 meters. I already confirmed with them and we are okay, we accept. We are also happy to accept the other 3 recommendations from the Environmental Planning Department regarding exterior lighting design, exterior windows and glass door design for birds, and all the tree removals and vegetation removal requirements. Please note, most of the variances are due to the existing condition. We do receive 2 supporting letters from our 2 neighbors, number 5 and number 8 WAXWING Place. We hope this design will bring more value to this neighborhood. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at this time? Okay, no questions. All right, let's get our next speaker online. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Your name, please, and your address.
My name is Doris Beast, and I live at 2 WAXWING Place.
All right, let's get the clock up. The floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to talk about the fact that we are on WAXWING. We do not feel that these variances are minor. I'm going to go first to the 2 support letters just to get that on record. The 2 support letters that the neighbor had received are from 2 different places that no one is living at. So number 7, number 5, there's been nobody living there for 7 years. So the fact that he's saying that he's got 2 support letters is incorrect. Nobody's living there. They haven't lived there for 7 years, so I don't know how he's getting these 2 support letters. They are both from architects, not from the actual neighbors. So the neighbors feel that the variance for number 1, the setback is much too high. So we're talking about it being a 1.8 and they're asking for 1.3. We don't feel that this is minor in any way, shape, or form. It's going to be far too close to the property lines. Number 3, although they're asking, they've gone from 32 to 30%. Our area is a 25% lot coverage. So by going to 30%, that's actually giving them 20% more lot coverage than what everyone else has. Number 5, the permit. Again, this is way too big. They're asking for, sorry, I'm trying to read this. The proposed height was 8.55 and they've amended it to 8.10. It's still very tall. And in the construction, with this proposal, the variance to the property setback is on the east side. This will be a wall massive for the neighboring property. So again, I'm just looking at my other notes here. We're worried about the height of the building. The drawings don't seem to be like, we can't see the drawings. They are going to be one of the tallest houses on our street, and they are going to tower over the neighbor. He's going to have absolutely no light. And again, we just wanted to point out that, you know, these letters of support are not from neighbors. They don't live here. They're architects, and like I said, one of them hasn't lived here in 7 years, so I'm not sure how he's getting those letters of support. So from the neighborhood, and we really do wish that there were more of us able to speak, but at this time of year, a lot of people are away. We are opposing number 1, number 3, and number 5. We feel that this is just way too large, and no one on our street has a 3-story. And we're asking that the committee take that into account, and that you take a look at this and you help us out with this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay, no questions. I'd like to take this back to the applicant for a response.
Yes. Hi, yes. So first of all, thank you. Thank you so much. I do receive the 2 letters from my owner who live in the number 9 Waxwing Place. So I think, I'm not sure the clients will present, but I'm pretty sure the neighbors, we do receive it from the 2 neighbors. Second one, you are talking about the height. Please note, we do not have a height variance. And for the variance about the lot coverage, please note, we are not demolish any basement. The lot coverage is from the existing basement. We are only adding the 2nd floor and 3rd floor. But please note, based on the new building bylaw, the existing basement is considered as the 1st story. So which means we only have a walkout basement as 1st story and the main floor to be the 2nd story. For the main wall height, I don't believe 8.1 meter, because originally we are proposing 8.55 meters. Per my communication with the planning staff, the planning staff support 8.1 meters. And I don't think 8.1 meters is the tallest one. And if you look at this neighborhood, at least 3 or 4 properties is under construction, and their height, I don't think our height is the tallest one, because we don't have the height variances. The side yard setback, please note that's the existing side yard setback. We are not doing, we are follow the existing. Yeah, I think because over the last 1 year, we hire professional engineer dealing with the TRCA. Because if you look at our house number 9 versus the number 2, it's the opposite side. We are facing to the ravine line on the opposite side. So I don't think this house is affect this neighborhood. Thank you.
Sir, with regard to the height, do you have any examples or precedent in the area that supports the height variance, height-related variance?
The only variances related to height is the exterior wall height. For the roof height, I don't have the roof height variance.
Well, no, my question actually pertains to the side main wall height. Are there any examples in the immediate or broader context to support that side main wall height?
I don't have the neighbor's wall height, but actually on his adjacent neighbor, it's a flat roof. I think it's about 9 meters wall height, but I don't have the drawing, the neighbor's drawing.
And the address?
I think it's ours number 9, maybe number, give me 1 second. Number 7, sorry. Number 7, Waxwing, please. That's adjacent neighbor.
Okay. Any questions?
And also, my owner is under the line. I'm not sure whether you can unmute the neighbor. Her name is Mr. Lee, Miss Lee.
I will allow it, but I will caution, it only can respond to the matters that were raised by the neighbor.
Okay.
Be very specific about that.
Number 7, Waxwing, I believe is much higher than ours, but sorry, I don't have the numbers.
Yeah, we're waiting for the owner?
Oh, he's under my name.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman and the committee. I just want to address one fact.
Before you do, can you give us your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Na Lee. My address is 9 Waxwing Place. I'm the owner of this property. I just wanted to address one of the concern from the neighbor regarding the fact that I get both of the support letter from the owners, and the owner of number 8 Waxwing is directly across the street of mine, and they live there for years. I don't know why there are claims that there's nobody live there, which is not true. And I got the consent from the owner who live across the street. And secondly, the other consent letter is from also the owner of that property. Yes, that 5 Waxwing. This is the owner. And they actually is now constructing their house, and they are very happy to move in shortly. So I got people who live there and are going to live here and paid a lot of attention and care and love this community. They are not just merely some constructor or architectures.
Okay, thank you. Any questions at this time? Sir, oh, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I was just going to ask if the applicant can perhaps give us a Google view of the street for heights. There seems to be some disagreement as to how high buildings are on the street, and I'm just wondering if the applicant could deal with that a little bit more detail, because there's a request here for 3 stories versus 2 stories, and for the sidewall height to be changed. And I just wanted to know how that actually does fit in, because the person that was appealing indicated that this would be the biggest house around. There's nothing like that, and that's not my understanding.
Okay. If you look at my presentation, page number 1. On the page number 1, there are 2 photos attached. The first one is the front of the current house. Second one below is a house facing to the rear yard. So this is a back split house. The basement actually is a walkout basement. So for the rear yard, that one is considered as ground floor, but we see it's a basement, but actually that's a first floor. For this project, we are keeping the basement, which is the first floor. We are demolishing the floor above. If you go to the, if you look at the still page number 1, on the floor above, we're adding additional story on the 2 corners facing to the rear yard. So if you look at the page number 2, the first one, top left, is the existing basement. We are keeping this wall. Next one is the second one on the left corner. It's a ground floor. I would say second floor, but it's still main floor. We have filled the 2 corner above, which is supported by the 2 columns below. The third page, lower right, is a third floor, the floor above. So the 2 corners facing to the rear yard is still back. So the wall is flushed, actually flushed with the basement wall, the first floor.
Excuse me, I don't have any difficulty with what you're proposing. It's here and I can see what it is. I wondered if you had any drawings or Google Maps or anything that show the size of the other properties on the street in terms of height.
Okay. On the Google map, I saw it's a neighbor's house under construction. I don't have the photos of the neighbors because on the Google map it's showing number 7 Waxwing is under construction.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Just a quick question. It's related to the height. Are there any, it may be an easier question to answer, but are there any other houses on the street with this typology, more specifically relating to variance number 4 with respect to the number of stories? When I'm speaking about this typology, I'm referring to the typology by which you have a garage with 2 stories above on one side and then 2 stories on the remainder of the dwelling.
Based on the new current building bylaw, the basement is regarded as a first floor. So the main floor is considered as a second floor.
Yes, I understand. But hold on. I'm going to redirect my question. Are there any examples of this typology in the immediate or broader area? It's okay with the just if you don't know, that's okay of an answer too. But I'm just trying to understand.
I don't know. Yeah, but based on my memory, I think number 7 is a 3-story. I don't have the photos.
Okay.
Number 7, the adjacent one. It's a single box. It's a modern contemporary.
Okay.
3-story above the ground.
Okay, very good. Any other questions at this time? Okay. Seeing as that there's no further questions, let's take this matter into committee for a decision. Perhaps I'll just get us started. Generally speaking, I don't have too many concerns with the application. I do have concern with respect to one variance, and that is variance number 5 with respect to the height of the side exterior main walls. And that is in part due to the nature of the typology that we're dealing with. Typically, when we have these homes that have that additional 3rd story, it does tend to create massing as a result of getting that 3rd story in. That said, just in reviewing the immediate context of Waxwing Place, the street is unique in that, you know, the side main wall heights of homes on the street are typically lower. And I do have some concern, just given that the applicant didn't really have any examples or precedent to show. And in just looking at some previous approvals on the street, I don't see any variances approved recently for side main wall height or buildings of this typological nature. So I've got some concerns with that variance, but aside from that, I think the application is generally supportable. I think I'm willing to. I think if they can demonstrate that they can build within the bylaw with respect to the side main wall height and get that under control, then I think I don't have concern with that typology on the street. But and my colleagues will know that, you know, these particular typologies, I think there needs to be some constraint. There is certainly, when you're putting in a third story, there needs to be some constraint with respect to the ceiling height that's afforded. And also to say that, you know, where you may have a constrained ceiling height on one side of the house because you're getting in the 3 stories of the garage, the other side of the house, you've actually got quite extensive height. Do I think it's necessary or desirable to sort of just have those tall heights on every single floor? I don't know that it's desirable, particularly for this location. And I think with respect to fit, because there still are a lot of established homes on the street, and we shouldn't just disregard that as as if they're going to be torn down, because some people may want to maintain that form of dwelling. So, in looking at, there was a reduction that was offered by the applicant to reduce the side main wall height, but I still think that they can do better on it. Yes, Mr. Nipville.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry. I share the concern for height. It's an integral garage typology that frequently creates problems. I'm not persuaded that variance number 5 needs to be approved. Notwithstanding, I agree with the other changes put forward by the planning department. And on that basis, unless my colleagues have differing views, I'd like to move approval of the application with the changes that were made by planning, with the exception of variance number 5, and my motion rejects variance number 5. And then there are conditions for TCR permit, and there's standard Metrolinx warning clauses.
Okay. Did we get the advisory comments?
You don't put advisory comments on.
I recommended everything else, all of the things that are in the planning department report.
We get TRTA as well.
Yes, I did that, and Metrolinx.
And Metrolinx.
Except I have to get a permit. Okay.
Okay, well, I will second that motion, and we will put it to a vote. So we'll second the motion. All in favor? Okay. All right. Opposed? Mr. Fazeli opposed. The application is approved as modified and in part with condition.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to the last item of the day. All right, we do. Item 18, 60 Melrose Avenue. Do we have the agent or applicant with us?
Yes, sir. Ali Shakiri, 326 Shepherd Avenue East.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Shakiri. Okay, I'm going to ask Mr. Shakiri. I've looked at the application. I'm going to ask my colleagues whether they require a full presentation. I see heads shaking. Okay. It looks like we don't require a presentation from you, but I will give you the floor if there's anything you'd like to add before I take us into committee.
Nothing to add on my side, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes. We have perhaps one question from Mr. Fazeli, just in respect to a letter that was submitted.
Yes, sir. My client has been in contact with the neighbor. I think that's number 58 Melrose Avenue. Their main concern is their foundation wall, as you read through the email, and that is, I believe, not a planning concern. It's more of the construction issue. So my client is trying to basically address that issue directly with the neighbor. Perhaps that's why they're not here. Other than that, if there is any question, I'd be more than happy to answer.
Okay, very good. Do we have any questions? Okay, it doesn't appear we have any questions, so let's go into committee.
If there's no comments, I can put forward a motion there, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Bartolo, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think it's a fairly straightforward application. Meets the 4 tests and is minor in nature. Therefore, I will put forward a motion to approve this application.
Okay. Do I have a seconder? Yes, a second by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. The application is approved.
Thanks so much.
All right, moving on to the last item of the day, item number 20, 433 Wilson Avenue. The purpose of the application is to alter the existing dwelling by converting the existing garage into habitable space. We've got a few variances, including FSI, number of parking spaces, the location of parking spaces, the setback of parking spaces, and the number of vehicular access points from a fronting street. On file, we have material from the applicant and a memo from transportation. May we have the applicant with us?
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Tay Rook. I'm the planner for the owners of the property at 433 Wilson Avenue.
Okay, and have you had a chance to review the memo from transportation?
I have, and I did try to reach out as soon as I got wind of this memorandum from transportation. I did try to reach out to transportation throughout the week, to speak to them about this, because a lot of their comments are dealing with an existing condition in the front of the dwelling of the 2-story apartment building. What's happening here is, if you could just go to my presentation slides, you'll see the pictures that have been provided. So right there, it's an apartment, it's a walk-up apartment building that's connected by a party wall in the middle, and 433 is on the left. And what's being converted is the garage basically into a studio apartment. So the building envelope doesn't change, the front yard doesn't change, nothing in the front as it exists today changes. So there isn't a widening of a driveway, there isn't a curb cut that's occurring, there's no landscaping that's being taken away. There are currently 4 parking spaces that's provided in the front yard, and that's what we'll be providing as a result of this conversion of the garage. And the total number of units that's currently existing today in the building is 3 units. However, if this application is approved, the conversion of the garage will result in the 4th unit. So currently the way that the rental agreement works is that each individual unit is allowed to have a parking spot in front of the building. So 4 units in total, 4 parking spaces. So that is the arrangement that's currently in place. The transportation comments speaks to things such as restoring curbs, restoring the front yard of the building. And I'm not quite sure where they're coming from, if they've not seen the site or if they've just not had an opportunity to understand what's going on. But like I said, nothing in this building is changing. We're not adding to the building. We're just converting that garage space with where that arrow is pointed at the bottom of that picture. And it's a simple conversion to provide a 4th unit. You'll note that obviously this is on Wilson Street. There's subway basically 15-minute walk from the site. Bus stops about 200 meters or 3-minute walk from the subway site as well. In addition to that, there's no guarantee that the new tenant, if this application is approved, will have a car, but nonetheless, a parking space is available for each unit, which will be a total of 4 units in this building for this site. Aside from that, I mean, we're not against a deferral, but I'm not quite sure what the deferral will do, because their transportation is asking for things that really doesn't apply. And you'll see in the next picture, subject site along that strip along Wilson Street, similar front yard parking configuration, front yard with driveways, basically shared driveways leading in and out of the site. These are an existing condition, and we're just trying to provide an additional unit on a busy thoroughfare, a busy arterial road with subway access and transit access to alleviate the rental demands that are out there for the City of Toronto.
Okay. Any questions?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think the applicant asked the question of why the transportation services they're asking for this. I think when I'm reading the comments, if you have it on the screen, they just need to know that the applicant is required to provide a rental agreement or parking space leasing agreement between the landlord and property owner and tenants that reside at the property in order for transportation services to assess the parking demand for the existing building. Once they have this, then they can review and comment about the current parking demand and determination of that. That's a fair request.
And that's, I know, hopefully I'm not interrupting, but through you, Mr. Chair, the rental agreement is that each individual unit gets a parking space out front. Currently, there's 3 units in this building. There's 4 parking spaces provided. So the 3 units have 3 parking spaces out front. A 4th unit will have a 4th parking space out front. So the parking demand is met because there's only currently 3 units, but if this application is approved, there'll be 4 units, 4 parking spaces will be provided. So this isn't a multi-unit dwelling building with 7 or 8, 10 apartment units. There's currently 3. We're looking to add 1 additional studio apartment unit, which will result in 4, and 4 parking spaces are provided. it's pretty straightforward from that perspective. So we're not looking to have a deficiency of parking in terms of the amount of units that's being provided on site. It's exactly what it is, one unit, one space per unit.
Just a question for you then. If the variance would permit the removal of the garage, then does that not force your client to remove the driveway as well, intended to access that garage that's no longer in existence? Because I mean, we've been through this today. The point of a driveway is to access a garage. I understand it's being used for parking, on-surface parking, but
So, sir, if you look at the picture.
Yeah.
So if you look at the picture, the garage is where the arrow is being pointed to, the orange garage. So that would be converted into a unit. You'll note in front of the dwelling itself, there is a huge curb cut that encompasses the subject site and the adjoining site. That's existing, in addition to paved areas that's already existing in front of the dwelling on both sides, the subject site and the adjacent site. And if you look at the character of this particular block with this type of architectural two-story walk-up apartment buildings, it's the same situation. So we're not changing anything. We're not creating new access points. We're not eliminating any access points. We're just converting a garage into a livable space.
No,
That's
I understand that, but to my question is, you say you're not changing anything, but you're removing a garage. Therefore, typically what happens when a garage is removed or parking is removed, then the right of that driveway that is accessed to that garage then has to also be restored. It's not, you can't have both, right? So that may be something that is addressed later on. When you go for a permit, if you're applying for the conversion and you're removing the garage, they may require you to remove that parking. And I just want to put it out there. I'm not sure what will result from that removal and whether or not that may in itself trigger some other variances. But I just want to put that out there. It is brought up in the comments section of the Transportation Services memo. And from my own experience, I have, my understanding is that when you do remove a garage, you do lose the driveway that comes with it. But I'll just put that out there.
And I understand what you're saying, sir, and you make a valid point. But the reality is that there's no other place to place parking on the site. It's always existed at the front. The rear of the building is for amenity space for the tenants. So there's no access to the rear of the building. So all of the parking that's occurred for these types of dwellings, for these types of buildings along that block, and as in the picture is shown, has occurred in the front. If we need transportation at the end of the day, when we go for building permits, will tell us whether or not if we have to apply for a parking pad permit, which we will do so if it's required. But in terms of the variances themselves, it's truly a simple conversion of an existing space that's underutilized. In addition to that, the number of parking spaces in terms of demand that's required is provided with the 4 spaces, and nothing changes in terms of the front yard as it relates to curb openings, driveway widths, landscaping, for all that matters. And you'll note there's no landscaping variances for the site application as well.
Well, I think that's yet to be determined, but perhaps a separate discussion, not for our committee. I will ask my colleagues if they have any questions for you at this time. Yes, Mr. Nipfel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My understanding of the application is if you pull up the basement floor plan, what is being proposed is that green area used to be the garage, and it's proposed to be an additional dwelling unit, which I think is a commendable initiative. And I believe the proposal is to leave the front yard as paving and to have it utilize the paving to accommodate 4 cars. The point that my colleague made about transportation is that their request doesn't seem to be unreasonable, and I'm inclined to agree with them. We could spend all night here arguing the technicalities of their commentary, but that's a transportation issue, and we're not experts in that. I think we should get on with it. I feel that what is before us is reasonable, but I do wish that we had transportation support, and so therefore I think that their deferral request is a reasonable one, and that you could return with their approval of these various items that they've highlighted in their report.
And through you, Mr. Chair, I understand the predicament that the committee is in. We have no issues with the deferral. It's just that the deferral request seems a little bit strange given what's being proposed. But if the committee is satisfied for a deferral, we're okay with a deferral as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, let's take this matter into committee.
Sure. If I'm ready to make a motion through you, Mr. Chair, if there are no comments from the colleagues.
My only brief comment is like the addition of this apartment is not going to affect the functionality of the site overall. It's going to continue to function just as it's functioning today. We're talking about one unit, one car. It's not going to affect the community. It's not going to have this major impact. They're going to have to go through the building permit process in any case after this, and if they get comments back and it's too onerous what's being put on them by the City of Toronto's other departments, they can halt and revert to what they have now. So I don't see a problem approving it, and they can move forward and make their decisions in due course in consultation with the other departments.
Thank you, Mr. Bartolo. I do agree with your comments there. For a motion, Mr. Fazeli?
Yes, I understand the colleague's comment. I think it comes down to the matter of like a procedure. Like if it is get approved and then they have to get the permit, they have to go through the process. And if they get the comment, they come back and they have to go again and make a revision if they're supposed to. So it's a matter of a procedure here. If the matter is deferred, in my opinion, then they're going through this, and then they have to get the necessary results, and it's a proper way of doing it. Either or seems like it gets down to the same situation. So ideally in such situation, I prefer to follow transportation services, that it's more proper way of dealing with the case. There are studies, there are like requirements, and as my other colleague mentioned, I'm not the expertise in terms of the transportation. They are the ones. So I tend to incline for that. For that reason, I forward the motion to defer this application, that the applicant could provide the satisfaction document or studies or anything that transportation is requiring from them.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Okay, we have a second by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Okay, the motion fails. Mr. Bartolo?
Sure, I'll go ahead. Kind of leaning on my previous comments, I'll put forward a motion to approve this application.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'm inclined to second the motion from Mr. Bartolo.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kaboo. All in favor? Okay, opposed? Mr. Fazeli opposed, there's one, so the application is approved. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, of course. The time is now 4:55 p.m. That concludes our hearing. I have a motion to adjourn. Yes, Mr. Bartolo?
Sure, I'll put forward a motion to adjourn there, Mr. Chair.
Okay, second. Second, Mr. Kaboo. All in favor? It's unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you very much, staff and committee members.